Stop using generic transitions as a crutch because you are killing your audience attention span. Those smooth crossfades are making your viewers passive and bored. Let us talk about visual padding. When you use a crossfade, a dip to black, or a flashy digital swipe, you are telling the viewer brain that it is safe to look away. You are signaling a rest period. The human brain is a highly efficient prediction machine. When it sees the start of a smooth transition, it calculates exactly how long the transition will take and immediately goes on autopilot. For those 10, 20, or 30 frames, the viewer is completely disengaged from your core message. They are floating in visual padding. And in an era where attention spans are measured in milliseconds, giving your audience a full second of cognitive rest is a death sentence for your retention graph. Now compare this to the hard cut. The hard cut is jarring. It is immediate. It is mathematically instantaneous. There is no tween, no ease in, and no easing out. One frame is concept A, and the very next frame is concept B. When the visual field changes that rapidly without warning, the brain cannot predict it. It experiences a momentary shock. To make sense of the sudden change, the viewer brain is forced to actively bridge the gap between the two shots. This is what we call the cognitive bridge. By forcing the audience to build that bridge themselves, you are dragging them out of passive observation and throwing them into active participation. They literally do not have the time to be bored because their visual cortex is scrambling to reorient. This is not a new concept. The greatest cinematic editors of the last century mastered the hard cut long before digital nonlinear editing systems gave everyone access to cheap plugins. Think of the French New Wave or the brutal, kinetic cuts of modern action thrillers. They do not fade, they cut. They smash concepts together. They weaponize visual silence. A hard cut is visual silence because there is zero transition material. It is pure narrative juxtaposition. When you remove the crutch of the generic wipe, you are forced to evaluate the actual rhythm of your storytelling. Does this shot actually lead into the next? Or were you just hiding a bad transition with a zoom blur? I challenge you to open your current timeline and delete every single non-essential transition. Strip the timeline bare. What happens? You will instantly see the weak points in your storytelling rhythm. You will see where a scene drags on for 4 seconds too long. You will see where the visual focus wanders. A bad transition acts like a band-aid over a fractured narrative bone. Rip the band-aid off. If the sequence of shots does not hold up with pure, raw hard cuts, the underlying story is broken. You do not need a better transition plugin. You need better visual structure. Let us break down the execution. How do you actually edit this way? Rule number 1, cut on action. If your subject gestures, if a chart spikes, if a UI element is clicked, that is the exact frame where the hard cut must happen. The kinetic energy of the action carries the viewer across the cut. Rule number 2, cut on the audio transient. The visual cut must land precisely on the transient peak of the audio waveform. Not one frame before, not one frame after. If you hit a hard cut on the exact start of a consonant or a snare drum, the visual and auditory impacts stack multiplicatively. Rule number 3, shift the visual weight. If your focal point is on the left side of the screen in shot A, the focal point of shot B must be on the right. This forces the viewer eye to snap across the canvas, maximizing the cognitive reset. But what about pacing fatigue? If everything is a hard cut, does not the audience get exhausted? Yes. That is where mastering visual silence comes in. You do not just cut frantically. You hold. You hold the shot until the exact psychological breaking point, and then you cut. The tension builds during the hold and the cut releases it. It is a cycle of tension and release. A generic transition bleeds that tension away slowly, ruining the impact. A hard cut preserves the tension until the very last millisecond and detonates it perfectly. Let us look at the data. Videos edited entirely with intentional hard cuts and zero digital transitions show a radically different retention profile. Instead of a smooth curve downward, you see a staircase. The retention holds flat, drops slightly at major chapter boundaries, and then holds flat again. You are eliminating the micro-abandonments that happen during soft transitions. Viewers do not know why they cannot look away. They just know the video feels incredibly fast-paced, even if the actual word count is normal. This requires discipline. It is so easy to drop a cross dissolve onto an awkward jump cut. but a jump cut is only awkward if it lacks intent. If you punch in 20% on the jump cut, changing the framing drastically, it becomes a hard cut with purpose. It becomes a punch-in. It resets the frame. It adds emphasis. You took a mistake and weaponized it into an attention spike. We are moving into an era of infinite content. Viewers have infinite choices. If you're editing signals to their brain that it is okay to relax, they will scroll away. You must respect their time by being visually ruthless. Every single frame must earn its place on the timeline. If a frame is just halfway between two scenes, existing only to fade into B, it has not earned its place. It is stealing time from your audience. To summarize the hard cut philosophy, delete your transition presets. Identify the exact frame of narrative impact. Cut on action and audio transients. Shift the focal point across the canvas. Build tension by holding the shot and release it with an instantaneous cut. Strip away the visual padding. Let us go deeper into the mechanics of the eye trace. When you perform a hard cut, the viewer eye needs a destination. If the eye trace is broken, the hard cut feels like a mistake. If the eye trace is guided, the hard cut feels like magic. Always align the focal point of the outgoing shot with the incoming shot if you want continuity, or violently contrast them if you want a reset. Furthermore, consider the audio bed. A hard cut in video requires a hard cut or a precise J-cut in the audio. If you hard cut the video but crossfade the audio, you create a perceptual mismatch. The brain hears continuity but sees a break. This causes cognitive dissonance. Always align the audio transient with the visual cut. By mastering the hard cut, you take complete control of your viewer internal clock. You dictate the pace. You command absolute cognitive focus. This is the difference between an amateur timeline and a professional narrative engine. Take these principles, open your editor, and cut the fat. Follow the AI blueprint for more uncompromising workflows. Next episode, we dive into the psychology of sound design.